Hello everybody, welcome back to another Saturday Smackdown. This one does look kind of short, and that is because it was a best of 5, not a best of 7. It was still pretty good though. Samwise12 versus Bad Speed, aka MusketJr. Two definitely top level players. And this week Smackdown featured some of the perhaps stronger civilizations in Age of Empires 3. A couple of Ottoman and Euro games mixed in there. Even an Iroquois mirror, which was pretty fun actually. Not a matchup you get to see all that often since those civs are banned in competitive events like the ESOC tournaments. Game number 5 though, guys. Definitely the deciding match of the series is the one to watch. It was a really intense British mirror. If you only have time for one game, I would recommend that one. As always, you can skip to any particular matchup using the little links, the little things you can click on in the description. Click on the timestamp, it will take you to the beginning of that match. You can do that in the description if you want to skip to a particular game. And yes, aside from that, Iroquois mirror, definitely not something you get to see. It's surprisingly fun, though I don't think it would be fun, you know, if it was every, you know, because if you're in a tournament, you'd definitely do that a lot and you'd see it all the time. I don't think it'd be fun all the time, but it was definitely fun once. And that British game, check it out. So yeah, enjoy the video, guys. See you next week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Saturday Smackdown. This is week number 54. What is the date, Zua?
Saturday, July 25th, 2015.
There we have our first map is Hudson Bay, but it's not our first map, actually. This is our second map. Because the first game happened, there is a link to that in the description. This is the second game that this video is starting off. If you want to watch the first game, do check on the link in the description. I didn't have my UI installed for that because I've been playing around with the campaign. I've actually been having a lot of fun speed running that, and I did take out my UI to you know, because it was messing up my game, so I took it out, and then for the first game I didn't have it, but I do have it back in now. That's why we're starting on game number 2. Here we have in the right hand side of the map in the color pink. Indeed. Samwise12 playing as...
Pink, a fitting color for him.
Playing as the Chinese.
He's just such a fabulous player.
He is a Kappa Pride. In the east of the map, in the color... Wait.
West. You struggle with directions, don't you?
Left and
it's
right.
so hard.
Yeah, north
left
and south.
Just stick to left and right.
Yeah, we'll do that. We have Bad Speed playing as, indeed, the French. French versus China, our second game. Zua, what do you think?
You should get some like sticky notes and write the words east and west on them,
and then just look at the note.
Put them on like the sides of your monitors, and then you'll know like when you're looking to the left, oop, that's west, and then you look to the right, and you'll see the sticky note, and it'll say east, and then you'll know.
I'll know. I actually spell it, you know, like that little song that goes "Never eat shredded wheat," and then you go around the compass. And do you know it?
I'm not aware of it. No.
Oh, well, like, I'm sure a lot of people in the chat will be, at least if you're from Britain. I do that every single time, for anyone noticing. But we do have a 100 wood treasure contention. Polar Bear almost dead. Looks like the pink player has gone in for this, taking quite a lot of damage on his Chinese explorer. But will it be worth it? Goes in, I think it is. Picks up 100 wood. Definitely going to be very useful for laying down that second village. And there it is, right off the bat. As soon as that 100 wood comes in, going to be chopping that down.
Yeah, it's actually really fortunate for Sam because he had stopped gathering wood in assumption that he was going to get that treasure. We can see he stopped 50 wood early, right? He was basically putting all of his eggs in one basket there, assuming that he was going to be able to pick up that treasure and use it to get either a TP or his second village. And had he gotten that stolen, he would have been in a really awkward situation where he would have been 50 wood short, had his card ready, and would have had to make an ugly decision about whether or not he was just going to opt for a 2-villager age up or chop that 50 wood really quick with all his villagers and then send his card late or something like that. So fortunately for him, everything worked out, but it could have been ugly.
It could have been so awkward. Like you rush to gather this wood and you're like, maybe I can get this village up in time before the villager card arrives, and it doesn't. You don't get your extra vill, or you have to cancel the shipment as you suggested and then send it again to make sure you do have it. But gets it up. Nice job done. But Bad Speed picking himself up a 125 wood treasure as well. Both players now have had a pretty chunky wood treasure into their bank.
definitely going to be nice for both sides, but looks like definitely going to be good for China as well, because I mean he is going to get a faster age up out of that as well, right? So I mean, most of the time China has to gather that extra, you know, a little bit of wood to with their villagers, but getting it from the treasure just means everything gets to cycle over to food a little bit quicker, going to translate into a quicker age up time, which is going to translate into a quicker FF as well. So assuming that Sam goes for some sort of FF build, which I kind of assume he will, is going to mean, because of that wood start, that he's just going to get that much quicker of an age up in as well. So
yeah, definitely. More than likely, the Samwise12 will opt for that Fortress Age play that China definitely is very good at, can get that big ball of units going really quite quickly. So likely, you know, obviously going to get up sooner, get that 700 coins sooner, and everything else sooner, as you were saying, makes China that bit more competitive. But is he going to lose Chao Yun? No, is the answer. 34 hit points, getting off pretty close there, of course. Would it be at this point worth bad speed going in and finishing off? That Explorer could find him, but of course he wants a trading post, so he's not going to do that.
Yeah,
but if he didn't want a trading post, if we lived in a world where France didn't want a trading post here, that would be a good idea.
Definitely could have stayed on the hunt there. And I mean, we've mentioned before how good those melee monks are, especially at tanking damage, and how critical it is, you know, to have that guy alive. I mean, he can train disciple. He's just really good at running interference, and can buy yourself a lot of time. And had Sam lost that, certainly would have been a hindrance to him as he works his way into the next stage. But
yeah, but still gonna pick himself up 80 XP. Of course, he got 100 extra health on it for aging up. But yeah. Very low hit points, still gathering treasures though, definitely worth it.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him though, he's not going to be able to secure this 150 food treasure that he was working at.
Oh, loses the scout though.
Yeah, that's not super good, but...
still gonna get the treasure though.
Yeah. Although Sam moving in here with a couple disciples might be able to at least snare...
Oh, is he going to kill it before he gets the treasure? The answer is no. But
answer's no, it's not going to do quite
imagine if
damage,
he was a little bit close. Oh, if he'd been a tiny bit sooner. That is not what happened though. 150 food does go over to bad speed, but here, both scout... Oh, does he get away? Oh, dear.
No.
Oh, wow, that wasn't Samwise. What happened? You had him. Oh,
yeah, he had him.
Bad speed.
He actually got blocked by his own disciples there, and lost the snare as a result of that. But Sam is going to be aging up. Looks like he's going to be doing the Porcelain Tower variation of the China FF. And we can see all of his hunts are very well herded here. His coin mine very close. Musket is training a couple of muskets, true to his name, but they're not really going to be able to accomplish that much. I mean, if you take a look at Sam's base, everything very closely centralized. If we do the Zuta boxes, as I've called it before, like look at how tight all of those villagers are. They're essentially every single one of these villagers right inside of this little tiny box. So very good gathering here by Sam, and good hunt control as a result of that. Going to make it very difficult for these muskets to actually do any lasting damage. And as a result of that, we're likely just going to see Musket semi-FF his way up to the third age as well.
Coming in though with the 5 musks, is he going to pick up a villager kill? He's going straight for the one on the Wonder though, going to slow that down. Takes a shot, half health on a villager. Is going to slow that tower down a little bit, but by the looks of it, centuries, or the irregulars rather, have been called, and these monks and disciples have managed to sort of snare these 5 musks. That is 500 resources from bad speed. It looks like it's going to go down. It's not too bad since he is, definitely semi-FFing behind it, but certainly not something he wants to lose.
Yeah, and this was what I was talking about, like the monk being so good at running interference. Like he hasn't built any military units. And he's only called one set of his Minutemen and made a couple disciples, but those disciples and the monk were basically able to trap everything. He killed 6 muskets there for, I mean, almost free. He did lose like 1 or 2 disciples, and he had to call some irregulars, but all the irregulars are still alive. The monk is still alive with, you know, over half HP. He still has 2 full hit point disciples. He didn't really lose anything for the cost there, and that translates into, you know, killing a couple of units, and that's just going to make his Age 3 play that much stronger. So definitely a good thing to keep that guy alive. And now we can see here Sam starting to branch out, knows that he has secured a little bit more of the map after killing some of those muskets. Going to be dropping down a village here to the south side of his base and start securing his next hunts.
Yep, extra house for population, also can store people in there. Good place to put it next to the hunts, and now is able to do that, of course. But yes, Bad Speed has lost 5 musks, and that means that this giant ball of infantry, we see the redcoats already here from, of course, the intervention. Oh wait, that's not intervention. He hasn't. Has he?
Yeah, he hasn't sent it. He hasn't sent it yet. It must. I think it must be bugged.
Yeah,
must be bugged because that's definitely intervention redcoats.
Yeah, you can't train those.
Yeah, but he doesn't have enough export. I mean, he's at 280 export, right?
And
So that's...
Well, yeah, okay, so it's intervention. I was expecting it. I was like, it's definitely, and then I click on the shipments, and now I'm really confused. It was that. Do you remember that time where the one failed shipment? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what happened is, so you can send intervention before you've allied your consulate, right? Like, that's something that you're allowed to do. And then when you do ally it, then those units will just pop out. So likely what happened is he sent the intervention card before he had actually allied, and then the units didn't pop out until he allied with the consulate, and it like bugged out the UI as a result. So he's definitely sent intervention as his first card in Age 3. Yeah. It's just bugged out the UI in some way.
Yeah, that could definitely be why that has happened. But as I was saying, infantry pull really quite strong here. Now that Bad Speed is 5 units down, it's going to be even harder to deal with. The village is still not up. Is he popped yet? He's over popped. Yeah. Oh, now he's noticing, but still that could deny the ability to send a shipment here, and that is what Bad Speed needs, just to for China to slow himself down for no reason really.
Oh, wow. Look at on the other side of the map what Bad Speed has opted for. Shipped 2 falconets, also has shipped 1,000 coin, or 1,000 wood rather, and built an artillery foundry. So looks like he's going to commit to this like musket falconet ball.
Yeah.
And we'll see whether or not that's going to be able to deal with the Chinese composition here. One thing that we do have to remember is how absolutely insane meteor hammers are at dealing with falconets. And look at the count of meteor hammers currently in Sam's army. It looks like he's got about 6 or 7 of them.
So many! Let's click on the military tab and find out. He's got exactly 9 meteor hammers plus 4 iron flails, which aren't quite as relevant, but meteor hammers with their times 2 damage versus artillery, and of course that extra range they get from that is that particular unit, right? Yeah, they get extra range, as in they don't need to be right next to a unit to attack it. They got a tiny little bit of range, so you can get to those falconets even if things are body blocking them. I did find it interesting that Bad Speed made an extra batch of 5 musks after losing his 5. I thought perhaps you ought to replace them, even though that would be strange. But by the looks of it, I'm gonna go with the veteran musketeers. Of course, get the upgrade, make lots of musks, and by the looks of it, defend. A 2 artillery shipment plus an extra 2 that he has made from his artillery foundry. Now he's going to go in
so hard
with 4 falconets. This could be punished quite heavily if the iron flat. They're all spread out, those cannons. It's not too good. However, at the moment, they're still standing, doing a lot of damage, but here comes the iron flails, just gonna knock them over really super quickly.
Look at how quick they go down. They go down so quickly to the meteor hammers.
That spells a decisive...
It's so brutal.
Like if you victory in this particular battle.
If you imagine how many resources those are worth, right? Like
they didn't even do anything.
Yeah, they got just immediately nullified close.
They just fell over and like the Chinese guy. It was like he just I don't know. That was
meteor hammers are so good against artillery. It was a bit of an all-in play played by MusketJr.
What did we just watch?
Yeah, it was just brutal. It's just meteor hammers in general are so good in that situation.
All right, next game, let's go.
That was build order win. Hopeless matchup, China OP. It's funny because Sam and I were actually discussing this matchup not long before we started casting the Kiltardy games, because he had some quite close games against Mongo 10, and Mongo was playing China in the games he lost, and Sam was actually under the impression that this is not a winnable matchup for French. And in fact, Sam is a very well-known French player, and Samwise had his French beat, I think, once or twice by Mongo. by Mongo's China. So
Wow.
nifty little tidbit.
Even in this matchup, the thing you do is not what MusketJr did there. It's not
Yeah,
as
you don't make-
lopsided as it looks
Yeah.
there. It's just the MusketJr or Bad Speed, whatever you want to call him, went for the 1,000 wood artillery, make 4 cannons that was difficult to defend in the first place, even if your opponent doesn't have meteor hammers. But that happens.
The meteor hammer's just shining there, right? Like, they're just such a good unit against artillery.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Before we hop into game number 3, I'm going to run and grab a quick drink.
All
Just
right.
to wet my whistle. I'll be right back.
Wow, such a whistle. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Saturday. Well, actually, I don't know why I'm doing that particular. Welcome back to game number 3. Here we have an Iroquois mirror. Yes, Zuta was saying we should just get all the lame stuff out of the way. Iroquois mirror, certainly a matchup. It's not so lame when they're both playing Iroquois, but
Yeah. It's, in fact, it's perfectly balanced when they're both playing it.
actually, you're completely right there. Yes, the best civilization, objectively, in Age of Empires 3, going up against each other. 2 of the best players as well. This is as competitive as Age of Empires 3 can get.
Yeah, this is what I mean. If you didn't have any civ restrictions at all, like, and every player was allowed to play any civ they wanted, like, say there was like some sort of like official tournament, right? And it was like anything goes. You would probably see these 2 civs playing back to back to back mirrors just repeatedly, just because they're that good.
Unless
they're that head and shoulders above.
Unless, like, perhaps one of the maps being used, like, super heavily favored a particular civilization. Maybe India would be played on Mongolia or something. You know, something along those lines. But yeah, that's...
Sure.
Is he going to miss that first batch of XP from the rickshaw?
Yeah, he's definitely going to miss it. Not going to make it.
Oh, dear. But to be... Yeah, that actually, that puts Bad Speed a little bit further ahead, actually. That extra batch of XP is going to arrive at his trading post here a little bit sooner, and that does mean he'll get his 3 Vil shipment out that little bit sooner, and that can be the difference between getting an extra Aena on the battlefield or something like that. And in the mirror, that can be very relevant.
Yeah, it certainly can be, and I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, that's part of why Great Plains fell out of favor as a map in general, right? Because that central trading post that you could get, like, was just that game-breakingly strong. We'll have to see. I don't know what the timing was like. I didn't watch Sam's Explorer. I didn't see if he like ran it straight over there to the side or not. But if that were the case, if both players were to run their Explorer straight to the closest site, and that was in fact, the result of that, where Sam missed his by a significant amount, and the player on the north side of the map actually got it by a significant amount, that would be fairly imbalanced.
Yeah, what actually happened there was that Samwise he chose to pick up an 85 wood treasure before building his TP, and that does explain why perhaps that batch of XP is only just now being given to him, as we can see passing. But both players do have a big chunky wood treasure in their inventory, so it is, by the looks of it, quite an even matchup at this point. Just unfortunately, Samwise didn't get his batch of XP.
Yeah, but it looks like it didn't matter.
Wow, look at that! Yeah,
right?
It really didn't matter.
They're only 6 seconds apart.
That's not actually that much at all. Perhaps one of the players didn't send it right away, or perhaps they both got it right away and did send it. I'm not sure what happened, but yeah, as actually what has happened in this game, whatever it happened, it hasn't actually affected much.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out as well is because you start with that first travois that players oftentimes use to scout, this is such a pet peeve of mine. Like, look at the positioning of both of these houses. They're in such like middle of the road centralized locations, and I think it's to be expected that both players will put like their war huts fairly far forward and will try and control as much of the map as possible. But that said, like, if you lose that house early in the game, the Euro players don't tend to gather an extra allotment of wood in general, right? If you lose that longhouse, you lose 15 population, and you're going to lose that 125 wood, which is very difficult to recover from. So I just would so much rather see that house like in a safer position. Like it could just be like down here or something like that, or even like over here. Like I understand that to some degree you want to use it to try and spot potential for cav raids and stuff like that. And if you can defend it with your war hut, I guess it's okay, because to be perfectly fair, if you lose your war hut, you've probably lost the game anyways in this matchup.
Yep.
But I would just prefer to see it like a little bit more safely placed, like over here scouting this side of the map. But
right, and over there it also will pick up raids. They're incoming if your opponent's going to cheekily send them around the side there. But as you mentioned, that is most likely either it's going to spot raids, or it was perhaps they needed the house and they were still scouting with the traveler at the time. They didn't time it very well because both players, let's be honest, at this point in time, are unlikely to have had much experience playing Iroquois at the moment, because it's restricted in the tournament, you don't get to use it. So maybe if they've been playing a lot of Iroquois, they get that timing right and they bring the Travois back. That could just be what was going on, a little bit out of practice. But yeah, definitely could put it back. But equally, as you mentioned, quite if you do lose your war hut, and you've probably lost the game already, and it's longhouse isn't really going to matter if it's sort of protected. But we do at this point see both shipments coming out at the same time for Kanya Horsemen. An absolutely incredible shipment, that one.
Yeah, and we also have a little bit of a discrepancy here after that as well. We can see that Musket did train some Tomahawks versus Sam, who's trained Ayanna as well. So
that's true.
We're going to have a little bit of a slight difference in our unit shipments early in the game. We'll have to see whether or not that works out in either player's favor. The Tomahawks, of course, are an anti-cavalry unit, so they will be able to, fend off the Kanya Horsemen a little bit better. Yeah. And now that it looks like both sides have their Ayanna shipment coming in, the composition going to start to pull together from both sides, but could have been an interesting thing to have seen happen. Sam just loading up on Ayanna at this point.
Yeah, both players, well, a little bit different in terms of composition, as you pointed out. I think it's really interesting, actually, how that, both players are going to have different sort of aims and objectives in the fight with regards to their micro because of the unit choice here. But it does look like the fighting is going to get going, and here we have straight up the Kanya Horsemen going to be doing quite a lot of damage to the Ayanna here. And because, of course, Samwise has not made any Tomahawks, they're going to, punish him a little bit.
Yeah, Sam doing a good job of splitting up his Ayanna fire onto the Tomahawks really early on in the fight. Does kill most of the Tomahawks really early on, so they didn't get a lot of damage, but still taking, as you mentioned, a lot of damage here from these Kanya Horsemen and his back lines.
Yeah. They're actually, the cavalry obviously attacking each other's cavalry after the Tomahawks went down. It's actually resulted in a favorable sort of victory in this engagement for Samwise.
Yeah, I mean, military-wise, we're at 12 apiece, so things coming back to about even. Really, when you consider the matchup, now both players are just left with Ayanna once again, right? And it's going to come down to just the shipment spam. Sam already shipping his 6 Ayanna. I think we'll see the same out of Bad Speed as well. The other alternative is 600 wood. And should he ship 600 wood and start his stable production a little bit earlier, could be decent against this build that Sam has gone with the, basically only making Ayanna. But nope, going to ship 6 Ayanna of his own. And we're just going to commit both sides to this very aggressive military-heavy stuff.
And now that you can see both shipments are here, and obviously this extra batch of 3 units just has popped out for Bad Speed. Units are very, very even. 23 to Samwise, 24 to Bad Speed. This is anyone's game at the moment. But it's interesting if you look at the improvements here. Bad Speed obviously has, well, by the looks of it, is the Tomahawks came from the Iroquois scouting party. That's actually where they came from. He obviously collected 500 food to send that, get the Tomahawks out. Also, has got hunting dogs. But, Samwise is behind at this point, does not have a market, does not have hunting dogs. So the longer this game goes on, it is going to shift to Samwise's favor. I hope I said the right players.
Bad Speed, yeah.
But my point is valid, just the player names. Insert the correct ones, there we go. Yeah.
The one thing also, though, to mention behind that is that Sam has done a better job of consistently training villagers. He is up 2 villagers, so despite the fact that, Batty does have his hunting dogs upgrade completed, it's pretty much null and void due to the fact that he's behind by 3 villagers. So both players operating with very similar economies here, and we're kind of in this this awkward stalemate situation, right, where both players are just making as many units as possible. Sam shipping 6 Tomahawks. We'll have to see what what Bad Speed's next shipment is going to be. That's going to be the curious thing to me.
Think
whether or not he pulls the trigger on the 600 wood or just opts with military units, just like Sam.
I have a feeling it will be the 600 wood. There it is on the floor right now. He does have a Canyon Horseman in. I hope I said that. Canyon. Yeah, it is that. In queue at the moment. It looks like that 600 wood is going to allow him to get the last 4 in at the last moment to pop out any second now. And with Cav on the board sooner than Samwise, this could be really quite good for Bad Speed.
He might just lose the war hut though. There's so many tomahawks. Big button has been called from.
You're right.
From
It's gonna
Sam,
go down.
So he's just gonna lose it. Yeah.
That's brutal.
It's brutal.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so brutal.
It's gonna be super tough now. And look at that house. It's gonna become relevant. Like he has 5 extra horse. He has 5 Canyon on the board, and that is kind of relevant right now. But without the war hut, with the extra support from ANs being created, it's gonna be tough to deal with the opposing tomahawks, which of course punish your cavalry. Now he's lost the house as well. This is suddenly looking very, very difficult, and it was just a completely even game.
Yeah, and it just comes down to that slight deviation in build as well, right? And both players have to be careful.
Yeah. And here, though, I feel like Bad Speed is getting lured in a little. He hasn't seen those tomahawks until now. Of course, Samwise keeping them either out of sight on purpose or just having them sort of out of position. And now that he's taken this fight and that they're joining unexpectedly, that could be a factor. But at the same time, Bad Speed has managed to get his horsemen to do a lot of damage to the AN as a result of those tomahawk being out of position. And maybe has managed to do more damage as a result of that. Either way, though, it does look like Samwise is. Having said that, though,
Sam snuck like a very sneaky 2 Kanya into the back lines there, which soaked a lot of damage from the infantry of MusketJr. And as a result, I think he's going to actually get a fairly favorable trade here. Both explorers have used their crack shot ability, so neither has it. We can see Musket trying to move his into range here to try and soak some damage. Doesn't want to lose that. Oh, it's so
wow!
close.
Oh, it goes down.
His heel. And that's going to be.
Wow, 5 Canyon though joining the fray, and there is no tomahawks left to to counter that, though 5 Canyon of Samwise's does join as well. Obviously, the cavalry here going to be fighting each other. But
and the HP bonus, I mean, Sam's Explorer is still alive at 87 HP. Just going to be just enough. And I mean, we've mentioned it before, like losing the infrastructure up front, just it doesn't have any way to reinforce there, and Sam's able to win the game.
God, that was so volatile. It went from being such a close game to just that one slip. I'm not sure if if perhaps he'd had that stable closer or those cavalry out a little bit sooner, could have saved that war hut. Could have been camped too early. That's exactly the point. That
it's just the one deviation in the card, right? Like the 6 tomahawks versus the 600 wood. And to be fair, like if Sam waits an extra 30 seconds or something and doesn't push,
it could have been
that
so
minute,
good.
Like you're right. Yeah. He has to be pushing at that moment, and that was like the perfect timing for Sam to abuse that. And
if he'd gotten away with it,
it
would have made him look.
Yeah, I mean, 20 seconds difference there, and those 5 cav get out and are probably able to run amok in the back line of Sam during that fight. And there's maybe, we see a very hard swing in the other direction. So obviously both players gathering in fairly awkward positions here now that cav, have been introduced from both sides. These villagers are that are spread to the wind are easy pickings for whatever cav remain after a successful fight. So had he won that fight, probably could have seen things swing the other way. Just so very close, just hanging on the edge right there.
I'm just looking at the player's resource count as well, to see if the villagers and the hunting dogs really made much of a difference. Looked like it really didn't. And I also looked at the XP total to see if that extra shipment really was irrelevant. And it is. It looks like Bad Speed did get his first batch of XP sooner, but I'm not quite sure when the first shipment was sent. If perhaps they both managed to get up to the required XP at the same time for the first shipment, maybe it made no difference at all. Interesting things there. But that does conclude the Iroquois mirror. Let's head on out into the next game.
It's actually like those games they're always like. They're so close. Like when you watch a high-level Euromir, like they're so close. Like the card order matters so much, and like if you can get away with something, it's just like really good. I don't know. I think watching high-level Euromirs especially on aggressive maps like that where things are, kind of forced into early aggression. I think it's a pretty fun matchup to watch, actually.
It is a fun matchup to watch. The thing is, though, it's not a fun matchup to watch repeatedly for an entire
Well, you wouldn't want to watch any matchup like 20 times in a row, right? So.
Yeah, and that is the reason that Iroquois and Ottoman have been disabled from the ESOC tournaments for the time being. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 4 in this Smackdown here. Samwise versus Bad Speed. It is a best of 5, so I believe this is it match point, something like that?
Yeah, it's decider for Sam.
Yeah, well, it's the best of 5 today because we did cast, or at least Zuta casted some tournament games earlier on this stream, and we all have limited time. We do, however, have a podcast coming up, so if you're watching this as a VOD, there'll be a link to the podcast as well if you're interested in the description. But the map is Arkansas, I think.
Yep, indeed.
And I even said it right.
Map.
I said it
Arkansas.
Right.
You said it 100% like the American way. Like, that's good.
It looks like we will have to restart. I'm sure
yep, because we're out. Yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah, they'll notice. Look how fast that guy's moving.
How could you not notice? Like, your Sioux war chief is moving one version, like, is moving like 1/10 the speed.
I've got 20 frames per second right now. That's horrible.
32.
Bad Speed resigned. Alright, let's get out of here. Like, I should leave that in just to put the viewers through the pain we go through sometimes. Like, one of the games we had to restart 5 times to get to happen. Not because of the same bug, but for a different reason. But
nothing is perfect, but we do our best with what we have.
Yeah. I'm leaving it in. I'm leaving it in. Sorry.
Yeah, screw it.
It's just funny. Plus, I would have to click record again.
The turnaround time was fine.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was pretty fast. So loading in on Arkansas again on the left-hand side of the map. In the color red, we do indeed have Bad Speed playing as the Ottoman. Start with 3 wood crates and a coin crate. There it is. Indeed, going to be laying down a trading post. No doubt we'll see this explorer here head straight to this trading
we're
site.
out again.
Well, have they just got the wrong version of the map?
I think this is the one that, like, it's not like the new one. Like, this one probably bugs quite often.
What button is it that pauses the game?
It's like F11 or something.
Yeah, just keep tapping
I
it.
don't remember. No, it's not that one.
Alright, so let's get into this again. Game number, the deciding game.
Potential decider.
Potentially. Yeah, because if of course Bad Speed takes a victory here, we then go up to Deuce, sort of. Topical because of Wimbledon not so long ago, so I guess it's not actually topical at all. But this time, on the left-hand side of the map, in the colour green, we do have Samwise12 playing as indeed the Sioux. And that concludes that. Are there any treasures nearby that he'll find interesting?
Nothing like overly great. I don't think this map in general has like super great treasures, right? Which is okay. Like
yeah, they're all like a lot of them are relevant, just not amazing. Like 95 wood, which is crazy. Or I mean, there's a 90 food up here, but it's
probably the best one.
It's guarded by 3 wolves, which is not exact. It's not as if they're coyotes, and it makes it super easy to get.
That one's pretty good as well.
Yeah, it's not that good. I mean, 60 is not. It's not like it's 90 wood, and it's guarded by potentially the same power level of guardians as sort of 95 wood is on, say, on Mongolia or say the 2. Yeah, the wolves are quite hard to kill. They're not coyotes. They're not that hard to kill, but they're certainly not easy. But spawning in the right-hand side of the map in the color red, we do have the Ottoman player picking up his 30 coin with that villager there. And the first thing he has done is, of course, grabbed himself this TV, getting that first batch of experience right now. Currently putting himself on 75% of his shipment done, compared to his opponent on 45 as a result of that TP. Gonna get those 3 vills out significantly soon as a direct result of that. Though Samwise, by the looks of it, picking up the extra XP from these wolf kills, and indeed 60 wood to go with it.
Yep, definitely going to be good for him. And as you mentioned in one of the previous games, wood treasure's not huge for Sioux in the early game. We can see he's not really going to be able to do anything with that. Maybe he could chop 40 wood and grab a TP or something like that, but likely just going to save it and sit on it until he gets progressing towards the next stage and then use it at that point. Another alternative, I guess, he could pick up his cord of 100 wood sitting underneath his town center, drop down a market and gather 10 coin, which would leave him with a hunting dog's upgrade for not a lot of time spent to get that, but looks like he's not going to opt to do that. Just keep everything in place and just progress towards the second age, and then use that extra little wood, maybe TP or something like that.
That's true. Definitely, if you identify that that wood treasure then makes that possible. Certainly, really good to do. But we'll see what he has in mind. Just by the looks of it at the moment, maybe he thinks he's too far into the Discovery Age to sort of think about doing anything like that, and would just save the wood for something in the Colonial Age. What's going on? What am I missing?
Just the chat between the players where Musket said, he said HM question mark, which I think Sam read as like question mark, like I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm pretty sure what he means by it was half map question mark, like a treaty player would ask. Just because I mean Sam's playing Sioux, right? So he's asking for a little bit of a time extension, I guess, before the rating pressure starts. And just checking rules.
Half map. Yeah. No warships, yeah.
Right, because there's always like those obnoxious treaty games that are like NR55.
Oh, look at the steal there, converting the Guardian at the last moment for the 90 food there. It does lose the Guardian, but it was effectively crack-shotting it to pick up the food. Nicely done from Running Elk, apparently. That's his name. But yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, it's just obnoxious, the names that some of those guys put in the tree.
HM, NWS, what else do you get? NR60.
NR60, HM,
oh my
NWS.
Who wants to wait 60 minutes? I guess some people. It doesn't appeal to me, that kind of style of gameplay, but it certainly does for some people, I understand that. But I like the fast-paced nature of AOE 3, and waiting 60 minutes doesn't cut it for me. Laying down a TP, though, is Samwise12. Going to be using that wood he found in the Discovery Age. By the looks of it, decided that he didn't want to collect any extra wood or anything like that, even though it wasn't very much. Just wanted to get that age up in queue. Didn't want to slow anything down or throw anything off, of course. Is still going to get that trading post, and that extra wood is still kind of relevant.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that, like, the decision to take the middle trading post as well, and what the implications are for that. We can see that the artillery foundry and barracks are going down very early. And because he's taken this middle trading site, it's going to be fairly exposed against this early pressure that Musket is going to be ramping up. Whereas had he put it back in this location, it would be considerably safer, right? It's a little bit more out of the way. Musket would have to make a more conscious decision whether or not he was going to apply pressure directly to Sam's base, where the stable is going to be, or to this trading site down to the south side of the map. But with this trading site in the middle portion of the map, although he does deny Musket that trading site for the initial time here in the early second age, is fairly exposed and is going to be fairly easy for the first Janissaries to be able to knock down quite early in the game. Although that being said, it looks like Sam might just be doing something a little different here, like Warheart going up already in his base. Interestingly enough.
That is interesting. Well, the Sioux certainly not known for their C-10 bows. Well, actually, they are them for being bad.
Yeah, they're known for them in a poor way. But perhaps Sam has scouted this early pressure. He in fact, he probably can see the artillery foundry just with the line of sight of his trading post, so knows that he's going to be under a lot of pressure early, and just wants to be able to deal with that in as efficient of a manner as possible.
Wow, those Abbas guns, you think it's only cav, they're not taking much damage. They actually are. That damage the Abbas gun does is so relevant because, of course, cavalry do not have a siege damage resist. Though it is halved, but still, the extra damage certainly not something.
Yeah, it's still brutal.
Oh, the pressure is here. Yep. Can Sioux done something about it? And by the looks of it, C-10 bow is not actually a bad choice against what Ottoman is doing here.
Well, he has no choice, right? Like, against this pressure, I mean, in the previous matchup that we saw this from the other side, Sam didn't put on nearly this much pressure, but Musket going to be putting on a lot of pressure here. He's definitely going to need C-10 bows to be able to deal with this.
Yeah. Cavalry do come out, though, in a good spot to kill off a couple Abbas, but those Janissaries, despite having not quite as good anti-cavalry sort of potential as other other muskets, are punishing those Axe Riders.
And look at that, GG just calls it.
Straight up. There it is! Wow, that was a fairly short and decisive game. Kind of reflecting what I said about Ottoman and Sioux earlier on in the stream, where Ottoman Sioux being a civilization that needs to get bow riders out quickly. And it's hard to do that against. Five bow riders isn't.
Yeah, it was really good control though by Musket as well with the Abyss guns, because he did knock down all of the Seton bows really quickly, and that just left his Janissaries with free reign over the Cav, and as a result of that, turned this into the very short game. Had he not microed the Abyss guns as well as he did and killed all those Seton bows and allowed them to get off a lot more damage on the Janissaries, so that the Axe Riders could actually like afford to stand there and take some of the Janissary damage and then just kind of like work their way through the mass. I mean, the Otto player is fairly all in here, right? He's pushed fairly far forward. If there's ever a situation where an Axe Rider or two can sneak out to the other side of the map, like, he's going to cause a lot of damage just in terms of raids. And really good micro there from Musket, just to make sure that he leveraged his mass advantage as quickly and as early as possible. So really well done by him.
Do you really think this matchup is as imbalanced as it looks here? I don't think it's that bad.
It's definitely tough for Sioux, I think. If Otto plays this very aggressive style like this, but this is a difficult style to play against with a lot of civs. Like, this is just really difficult to deal with, especially.
What do you think of?
Go ahead.
I looking at the chat here, and Yuroshik mentions the Ottoman has really no counter rifle riders. Is that?
Unfortunately, you can't make rifle riders in Age 2 unless you send that card, but it's not relevant.
You don't think like a sort of a fast fortress is? I don't know.
I think I don't know. It's really hard. Like it's definitely tough. It's definitely a tough matchup. I think the Sioux player has to be really good with their raids and kind of has to just like. I don't think you can afford to make a War Hut, because War Hut units are just so weak. And I think you have to try and brute force your way with bow riders in some way. But still, like, dealing with that pressure, like if the Ottoman player, which let's face it, Otto's not a very difficult civ to control.
Shots fired. Yeah. It's a skip. Yeah. All right.
Voodoo Boss, if you're watching, I'm talking directly to you.
It's funny because I've always, because I was a Nilla player, like. People said, yes, Spain's OP, but at least you actually have to be good to pilot it. Whereas Ottoman, like, you don't have to make vills, so you don't have that to worry about. And
you can put everything in one group and just attack move. I mean,
that's actually the best thing to do. That is actually the best thing to do, because if you put all your Abyss guns at the back, they're vulnerable to, like, cav. If you like select them all in a big box and right click, they sort of like group up randomly, and then like you just can't get punished by camp for that.
When you're kiting, yeah. I mean, it's still important to be using your Abyss guns in a really effective manner during the fight to eliminate like the ranged units effectively and stuff like that, and bull rider type units.
And of course, you do still want them separated, you know, during sometimes in a fight as well. But if the camp do come, you can just like select them all, right click, they all group up in randomly. Yeah, like I don't know.
It's really easy to get to like PR35 with Otto, though, is the thing. Like, you can just make Jans and Abyss from a forward base every single game and apply pressure with them in one mass, and it's really hard for like most sub PR35 players to deal with. They're definitely like, if you're looking to cruise up ranks and quick search really easily, that's definitely a good way to do it.
Yeah, it's also a good way to get pested. But that does conclude this game here. Shall we head on out to the next one?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Decider, Samwise and Bad Speed on 2 games apiece, I believe. And this is the deciding game for the best of 5 series. A British mirror, and what a mirror it is. Just before this game started, I was saying this is, in my opinion, probably the most interesting mirror matchup you can get. And that is largely because I feel as if a lot of mirrors have a sort of very rigid way to play it in terms of the build order, in terms of the skills. Yeah. What is it with? They'll notice. I love how nobody notices whilst they're microing their crates. They're like, gotta get this perfect, gotta... You know, you need all that APM at the start, and then once it sort of cools down, you're like, oh, actually, it's not working. This is really chill. Can we just play a game at this speed?
Yeah, super slow-mo. It's just like...
Oh, the micro would be so good. Like, people would... Like, a game at that... Well, it reduces the skill cap, right? Like, like, players who are good at the game can't shine as good when it's that slow, because everybody has, you know, effectively more APM.
Or at least people who rely on mechanics to win games, like really mechanical players. I guess it gives you more time to think about like the correct reaction as well.
Yeah,
like
that's true. Actually,
one thing I've noticed is that there are people who are actually like really good at like thinking about the game, but they're good at like thinking about it after the fact, right? They're like, if you give them 5 minutes to come up with the correct thing to do in a certain situation, they'll get it right like almost every single time with like what you should do. But if you force that same player to make that same decision like in a split second where like the timing actually matters, they'll blunder it every single time. So
yeah, and
it's an important part.
Certain players who are good at decision making, I think I mentioned before. I feel like this. I don't really want to bring Azam's name up every single time, but I think Az is one of those people. Bonang as well. Among others, certainly a lot of others.
Yeah, well, I mean, those two players, I think, maybe not like they're like strict decision making, but like they just do weird things. Like, I don't know that like their decision making is necessary, especially like Bonang's. I don't know that Bonang's decision making is that much superior to like any other players, but A's makes good decisions, but I don't know that.
I feel like in a way, doing interesting stuff every game does train you to make, to improve your decision making. I don't know, something like that. But we do have a British mirror, as I was saying, perhaps one of the more interesting mirror matchups, because there are lots of different things you can do. Do you want to go over those, Zua?
So, like, I think the kind of in-meta current style thing to do, especially on, like, some of the lower hunt turning maps, is to play, like, aggressive with an FB and try and control as many hunts as possible with, like, that starting tower and muskets, and just rely on the fact that, like, if you try and do some sort of longbow build into that tower, it's going to be really hard to punish it, and it's just really difficult to not, like, be able to get starved out and get enough longbows and pikes and stuff to actually like force your way through it. So I think that's kind of like the current in meta style thing to do, is to like do forward bases against each other in the middle of the map with muskets and just rely on like the early musket siege, because like 10 muskets can siege down an outpost if you get an advantage, but 10 longbows like can't. Like they won't be able to siege down that outpost early in the game and like get a decisive map advantage as a result. So that's kind of like the current meta thing to do. But I mean, on a map like this where there's lots of hunts and you could potentially, have loads of hunts in your base and not have to worry about that, you could certainly do some sort of longbow pike, like Nature Phoenix style, big wall out front of your base as well, and just like rely on longbows strength and numbers. I mean, if you get up to a point in this matchup where you have 50 longbows, you're probably not going to lose as well. So yeah. But I think we'll see both players go muskets, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see like dueling Raxes in the middle of the map with outposts as well. So
yeah, could be good. That Nature Phoenix style though, with the wall,
it's fun to watch.
It is fun to watch, and I think it's hard to do as well. Like it's definitely
hard to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. Samwise though, picking himself up by the looks of it, 140 food, along with an 80 food treasure as well. Which, of course, he did use to get his age up in queue a little bit sooner. This one, though, he's already aging. It's not going to be as useful. But actually, both players aging up at very similar times. GG. Badspeed finds the cow. The victory has been locked down. Thank you very much for watching Saturday Smackdown, everybody. Badspeed does...
That's it.
Yep.
Secures game number 3 with the cow pickup.
Yep, locked it down. There it is.
But realistically, like, he's actually so far behind now because Sam. Look at Sam's like upgrades. Like, he got hunting dogs at 1 minute, and he's already got gang saw researched.
And I was going to point out Sam's treasures as well, actually.
Yeah, and he got like, and then he got the 140 food.
Oh, there was
what
80 wood in there, actually.
80 food and 50 coin. Wow. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough to recover from. Also, I wanted to point out that, like, the earliness of Sam's gang saw, we can see, like, with the early food treasures, he queued up gang saw before he actually clicked the age up button, and as a result was still able to do like that 18 pop age up and get his gang saw started before he needed, well, and got his gang saw finished, in fact, before he needed to transition villas over to wood. Wow. So all these villagers that are gathering wood have been doing so 10% more efficiently.
And how many villas does he have? Effectively 20, well, about 18 when he got it, right? And that's like 1 point. It's like having 2 extra villas on wood. And that means you get those 2 extra manas down, or whatever manas you want to down a little bit sooner. And it means you can cycle these back to other resources for creating muskets sooner, and as a result have more muskets perhaps. And it's definitely very, very good.
The interesting thing to see here, though, is MusketJr is going with a slightly different build than we kind of expected.
Oh, wow, a stable going down, yeah.
Sam is playing the more standard style that I kind of expected. We can see he's got the barracks up in his face, he's got the outpost up in his face, securing as much of the map as possible. But his opponent has opted for a cav start, and on a map like this, like, it's those first Hussar are not going to be very successful in defending against musket pressure, and I do worry a little bit for him just because it feels like he's probably going to be on the back foot most of this game because Sam did get the earlier age up, did get down his racks a little bit earlier. Might be playing from behind, and having cav, defending in your base is going to make things a little difficult. So we'll have to see whether or not he's able to get any raiding pressure down. Certainly that's what he wants to do with this first batch of cav, is get some raiding in, but whether or not Sam will allow that with the early aggression with his muskets is yet to be seen.
That's true. 4 cav do come out. We'll have to see what he can achieve with those. The racks now going down as well, of course, going to be making of course infantry in the back, but perhaps he's got 2 hunts. He's looking good. He's got 2 hunts in his base. If you compare that to Sam, only has the 1. Perhaps Bad Speed is feeling okay with the 2 hunts, and as a result of that, thinks he can get 5 cav out and sit in his base a bit longer, and will be okay as a result of that. Cav do coming off to see, splitting them up. Can he get some kills? And by the looks of it, Sam just sieging this market. So I think actually Bad Speed at this point gotten away with this. Can he make something happen with these cav though? Vill goes down to half health. Doesn't get the kill though. Yeah,
so far looking good from Sam. He did spot the raid very early on. Has done a pretty good job controlling his villagers, warding off these cav as best as he can, and at the same time applying pressure to the market over here. Where did the rest of his musk? Oh, he's actually bringing the musk back to deal with the cav. And I guess this is about best case scenario for Bad Speed. He kind of got away with going with this cav early build. And as a result, he's forced Sam to play some more defense. We can see the second barracks for Sam coming back at home, so he's even hesitating from continuing the pressure up front just due to the cav pressure that he's dealt with here early. So
3 cav coming in, but MusketJr's quite nearby. Doesn't punish him as much as he could have done if he was looking at that right there. Does cheekily try to get a little bit of damage on a Vill. That does mean 2 Vills are now or 3 Vills even are actually damaged.
Yeah.
More musk coming out though, and looks like
he's
nicely done.
A little bit trapped here. You don't have a lot of room to go. And look at the big longbow reinforcement here. This could be about what he needs to be able to deal with these muskets. Look like he's just going to try and keep the muskets interested with his cav here and do as much damage as possible with the longbowman.
Yeah. Definitely keep them nearby with the cav. That almost takes off the Vill, 10 HP.
Yeah, so
nicely
close.
Done.
But this comes back to what I was talking about earlier, right? These 10 longbowmen, when sitting underneath this outpost, are so vulnerable. We can see how much more damage they're taking compared to the beefier muskets. 95 hit points versus 150 hit points. And the more those longbows are forced to stand underneath that tower, the worse it gets for them. They're just going to take so much more damage over the course of time and lose so much hit points. And
just look at how many more units Samwise has as well, because he didn't train cavalry. He's got like at this point, 32 military population compared to Bad Speed's 19, which is just so many more.
Yep. Losing one of the cav there as well. Oh, he might get. He's gonna get another. He's gonna get a build there. Certainly good for him.
Yeah, nice. So Sam actually 2 vills down now as a result of that, and he still has, you know, some damaged ones in the back there. Could definitely be relevant, but a barracks does go down for Bad Speed. He's now 1 barracks down by the looks of it.
Yeah, he realizes he needs to play catch up. Interestingly enough, with the shipments as well, Sam did go 700 wood, 600 wood, and then 6 muskets, whereas Bad Speed's gone 700 wood, 5 vills, 600 wood. So despite the fact that, you know, Sam's behind by 3 vills, he hasn't sent any of his villager shipments yet either. So he's actually doing just fine in terms of villager production. He'll be able to catch up as soon as he starts sending those villager shipments. And there we see the first 5 coming in, and that's going to catapult him up into the lead in terms of just sheer economic power. And we also have to look at the upgrades at this point in the game as well. Steel traps already researched for Sam at 5 minutes versus Bad Speed, who, you know, only to this point has hunting dogs and gang saws, so no second tier upgrades at all for him. Definitely going to start to accumulate some sort of difference here, just in that terms as well.
Yeah. Where do you think the players stand at this point? I mean, clearly Samwise quite a commanding army.
Yeah, it's
but,
fairly.
Bad Speed has sort of caught up.
Yeah, it's fairly even, especially due to the fact that, you know, there's so many longbows here. And this is kind of what I was talking about, right? As long as you have some hunt available to you, you can make longbows. Hold that thought. Looks like we're gonna have a fight.
Yeah, it does. But actually, no, Sam is getting out of there by the looks of it. Keeping a little bit interested because of the muskets, but not going to take that fight against a unit that does directly counter him, actually, with the 1.3 times damage multiplier. Perhaps he has intentions of getting out a few cavalry before heading on back in there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And that's what I was going to point out, is that as long as...
Can he get another villager kill? Oh, they die before he gets the last hit on it.
As long as Musket has hunt, which he currently does here to the south side of his base, and he can, you know, he doesn't have to venture out too far into the middle of the map and risk getting surrounded by muskets with his longbows, he's perfectly fine. But once he has to start making plays out towards the middle of the map, he's going to need more muskets, and that may give time enough for Sam to get out a decent mass of Hussar as well. He's definitely, he's just going to commit to the barracks units, just making only muskets at this point.
Yeah, no stable at this point.
Third racks
definitely,
even.
and obviously, second racks coming in. MusketJr attack is researched. Is he going to get super close and just DPS them down with this? I don't know. It feels... If he doesn't give him the opportunity to kite, he forces him all the way back to his TC. I mean, actually, these musketeers would be quite good against the longbowmen if he can actually stay in range and fight them. But at this point, that doesn't look like it's going to happen, and Bad Speed has got, you know, a much better composition.
Yeah, certainly.
No, look at this. They're so far on the front.
Much damage.
Oh, wow. Taking, like, these are really good on the back where they're not taking any damage, but being on the front, taking, you know, the upgraded damage plus the Minutemen. These longbowmen going down very, very quickly, and they're not going to be able to use their damage, which is multiplied because they're being killed off. This is exactly what Sam wanted, and Bad Speed actually still in a reasonable spot.
It just shows how good the longbows are in this situation, doing so much DPS with that extra range. He's going to be able to push it back, but I don't know if he's got enough to just brute force his way through this. There's a lot more muskets reinforcing here for Sam, and well, I don't know. It's going to be close. Sam's hunt is fairly exposed, and at the very least, you know, he may be able to force him back off this middle hunt location.
Yeah, it looks like though he's now pressuring this barracks, telling Samwise that he truly has to do something now, otherwise he's going to lose this forward racks. And Sam definitely, you know, responding to that with his units. They're going to bring them in, and as a result of that, Bad Speed going to get back. But with the longbowmen mixed in, this is still not an unfavorable fight for him to take. Is he perhaps waiting for another batch before he goes into units, or a shipment perhaps or an upgrade?
There is musket HP from Sam as well, so these muskets are getting beefier and beefier, and we have to take a look at the last 3 shipments that Bad Speed has shipped. He does have a 20-point score advantage, but a lot of that's due to the fact that he sent 6 longbow, 6 musk, and 700 food as his previous 3 cards. So the longer this goes on, and the more that Sam's able to stabilize and get his army count back under control, the better it's going to be for him. And, you know, for the time being, we can see that Bad Speed has just shifted back into defend mode, as he's, he's still obviously quite concerned about defending these hunts to the south side, and he doesn't know whether or not Sam has added in a stable or anything like that as well. He certainly has to be concerned about potential Hussar raids, and we can see as a result of that, just the posturing of his units as a result is quite defensive.
That's true, and obviously his steel traps was much later than his opponents as well, so all of these things sort of stacking against him there. Perhaps, gone full musket here. He knew what cards he was going to send, and they were going to be the upgrades. Maybe that was his sort of line of thought. He's going to make this one unit that's very, very upgraded and strong.
Yeah, but still the longbow's going to be doing... Look at how much damage they got.
They do so much damage. It's 17 times 1.35. And the range they have, like, the muskets have to walk in range of the longbow before they can start dealing damage as well. Certainly something to consider there.
Yep, definitely going to be good for him.
Picking up like another 300 resources just go down. These, 75 food, 25 gold each, and these longbowmen just dealing a little bit of damage here and there because they have the range to do so is, kind of relevant.
Yeah, and still no stable from Sam. Like, it looks like he's just planning oh, there's finally the stable.
There it is.
And that's what he needed. Like, he probably should have added that in quite some time ago, because he's overcommitted quite a bit to the muskets here, and now with the longbow mass that Bad Speed has accumulated, it's going to be difficult to catch up in terms of like Hussar count to be able to contest that number of longbows. There's just so many longbowmen out on the map. How many are there? In fact, there's 47 longbows.
Holy crap.
So, I mean, he needs at least probably a good 15 or 20 cavalry. We can see Sam's got 81 musketeers, but 81 musketeers isn't going to really be able to cut their way through, those 50 longbows.
Maybe his line of thought was, I'm not going to make a stable, I'll just mass musks, I'll go up to Fortress at some point, perhaps, then get the artillery that would perhaps, falconets. Oh, look at this!
Look at those volleys, so many longbows.
Yeah. Wow. But there's a lot of...
Yeah.
The longbowmen aren't moving away here, and these musketeers are, kind of beefy. Maybe he can make something happen if he DPSs them down quite quickly. Equally, though, longbowmen do a lot of damage.
And a huge raid going on back here at the same time. I know this is do or die for Sam.
That's a massive raid. Does notice it despite the fight still going on.
Yeah. Sam has out Cav of his own here, but things are like going poorly for him in this fight. And he's taking, well, I don't know, it's hard to say. Yeah, I think things are going fairly poorly for him in this fight.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. He does have reinforcements coming back in here. He is fighting with his villagers and his muskets to deal with this raid back here, back at home, which looks like he is going to clean up. And with his reinforcements coming in, I don't know. It looks like MusketJr is almost out of food. And if he loses this mass advantage here and can't gather resources, Sam's got some more reinforcements coming in here. Things are still really
wow,
close.
You're absolutely, yeah. I mean, this fight right now he is losing, but with the addition of 4, 5, 6, 7 cav and more musketeers, all of this food, as you pointed out, is undefended, and Yeri's still gathering. But once these, so reinforcing musketeers, his food he's still going to be able to gather there. But if that food was shut down and there weren't any these reinforcements,
where did he pull all those muskets from? Those muskets just came out of his ass. That like he just all of a sudden had 60 more muskets. It feels like. Holy crap. He's got 3 Raxes, I guess, here in the back here.
Yeah, was that like, oh shit, I actually need to make units during this fight, micro and like an absolute king with his longbows, and he's like, oh, actually, I do need reinforcements, stacking up 1,500 food, and then, oh crap, I need units.
And look at the Vil differential as well. All that rating is really starting to pay off for Bad Speed. You can see
it really is.
Sam down 13 Vils, and now with the Musketeer upgrades pulled back to even, we can see both players having the Musk HP and Musk attack sent. Things really starting to look like they're actually in favor of Bad Speed here. Things starting to get a little bit out of control.
Absolutely, that is reflected in the score as well. 190 to Bad Speed, with Sam on 150 there. 30 points down, hopefully my math is correct. This fight, though, it doesn't look, as if, well, actually it is in favor of Bad Speed. Has got the composition advantage with more longbowmen than his opponent, and actually more units overall. Yeah,
Sam searching for a big raid here to try and bail him out, but I don't think he's going to find it. And with, as you mentioned, all these longbowmen here, just adding in this basically infinite damage, I don't know that Sam can
infinite damage.
Yeah, it feels like infinite damage when you're when you're fighting like this, right? But still, Sam making the best out of this situation. Unfortunately, the Cav are going to be able to get right up in the face of the longbowmen and going to do a lot of damage there. And with just so many longbowmen left alive, I don't see how Sam can really continue.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is spelling sort of the end of the game here. Where is he gathering food? It is quite far away from his base. It's not like that's defendable.
Yeah.
And with now, you know, such a big military lead for Bad Speed, even if it were defendable, it's you know, he can't gather there. There's going to be units sort of on top of that if he sort of heads in that direction.
These 5 SR are going to be nailing the coffin. GG called by Samwise12.
Yep, he knows what's coming. He knows where those units are going to go. And he knows that that is the end of the game. Bad Speed takes the victory. You know, being 2 games down.
Yeah. Well done by him.
Yeah, well played to the guy. I really enjoyed that matchup. That was a pretty fun one.
That was a good game. That was actually a really good Britmere.
Yeah.
His build, like, he accomplished what he needed to accomplish with his build, right? Like, when you start Cav like that against such an early aggressive musket opening, if you take a look at where Sam's first barracks was, there's very short rush distance between, you know, the tower, basically everything in Musket's base and Sam's FB. And he was able to draw enough pressure away from his base with his starting Cav that he was able to stabilize with that kind of longbowman composition. And he just kept drawing it out, despite the fact that, you know, Sam had all those upgrades for his muskets very early on, was able to kind of nullify that upgrade advantage with, you know, just the strictly better composition in the early fights, and as a result secured the map in a way that, you know, he was able to continue to gather resources, eventually was able to catch back up, and as a result still always had like a couple Cav running around that were just making Sam a bit uneasy about whether or not he was safe gathering resources.
Just looking at that village account right now, and you can just see over the course of the game that Bad Speed just gets ahead as a result of these occasional dips.
Yep.
Where he is raided.
Yeah, just like 1 or 2 villagers going down, like in really just adding up over time. As you mentioned, there was that big raid during the fight at about 15 minutes that, you know, was probably the nail in the coffin raid, killed 5 villagers and continued to spring ahead himself, finished off his manor population by the looks of it.
That was well, I don't want to take anything away from Musket. Because of course, if the Cav had been added sooner, it could have been different. But, you know, playing from behind the whole game, actually, in terms of all resources gathered, that steel traps was quite late, and of course, Sam was always a few villages ahead, at least until the raiding kicked in. And this is shown, you know, by the all resources gathered graph that I'm looking at. Yeah,
the one thing I do have to question about Sam's build is when he added in that 3rd Rax before adding in the stable as well, right? If that 3rd Rax would have been a stable and he would have started his transition to Hussar a little bit earlier, I have to think that at least he would have been able to deal with longbow mass. Because there was a situation where he was, like, he fought, like, he had like 81 muskets versus 47 longbows and 25 muskets or something like that. And he took that fight, and although it went, like, okay for him, he was really far ahead in military at that point. And if he would have had even like 5 or 8 Cav in the mix there as well, just to force the muskets to not be able to shoot and to run around, and to give his really high DPS muskets the chance to just like completely tear through the front lines of Bad Speed, he probably would have had a little bit easier of a time dealing with the remaining longbow mass. But because they were just forced to both stand there and shoot, and the longbowmen, obviously the longer they're allowed to just stand there and shoot and do their DPS and you know, use their range advantage to pick off straggling units as they run away and stuff like that, just continues to grow that advantage more and more and more. And Sam just not able to catch up and keep up the mass after that point.
And that does conclude the game. Thank you very much for watching Saturday Smackdown, ladies and gentlemen. Do leave a like on the video if you're watching this as a VOD. I guess type like in the chat if you enjoyed, I don't know. But we do have, I believe, if you're still up for it, Zuta, a podcast.
The podcast, yeah. I mean, I've got like an hour to do a podcast, but if it's gonna be longer than an hour,
I think it'll be about an hour, I think.
Okay.
If you want to watch that, though, if you're watching the video, there is a link to that in the description. But yes, that does conclude Saturday Smackdown. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you again next week.